Jadon Sancho has officially joined Borussia Dortmund on loan from United and has spoken out for the first time. We've got a lot more context on what really went down between Ten Hag and Sancho, with The Athletic detailing a very, very good report about sort of what's gone on between Sancho and Ten Hag, and even sort of Sancho's history at United under Ole and some particular issues as well, among more. So we're going to dive into a little bit of what The Athletic article has said, some other information that's come out on Sancho and what went down between him and Ten Hag, and obviously Jadon Sancho's comments. So please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. But first of all, we're going to dive into Laurie Whitwell's article. We're going to dive into a few bits here and there. I highly recommend going and checking out the full article on The Athletic. Laurie Whitwell's very good at diving into detailed information on behind the scenes of what's going on at Man United. He gave information about sort of how Sancho struggled when he first joined United because he was sort of being deployed as a right wing back in training, and Ole was kind of changing systems because things wasn't working and stuff that I'm not really bringing up in today's video. But if you want more context, definitely go check out The Athletic article. But I'm going to dive into a few points from that article now and then get into Sancho's comments. So it was said during a media briefing in Spain during the World Cup, Ten Hag referenced Sancho's need to work on a combination of physical but also mental issues, a revelation which did not sit well with some at Old Trafford. Ten Hag did not have permission from the player or his representatives to discuss the matter. Ten Hag felt his comments were supportive of the player, while Manchester United believed that they offer no reason for Manchester United believed that to offer no reason for his absence would have fueled speculation. The manager reiterated that Sancho was not fit enough the following month, repeating that it's physical, but also physical with a connection of mental. So essentially, if you remember, this is sort of during the World Cup, the training camp in Spain. Sancho was not there. Sancho had gone to the Netherlands to train, and Ten Hag said, oh, look, Sancho physically isn't there. He's not fit. He's not fit enough. But it was a connection of mental stuff, and we were all concerned about Sancho, saying, well, if he's mentally struggling, this is concerning, and we could sort of say, well, it's been a tough year, it's the Dutchman year. And, you know, I think everyone gave Sancho a patience to be like, you know what, if he can get back physically and mentally to his best, hopefully we'll get the Jadon Sancho from Dortmund, the Jadon Sancho we believed we were going to get when we signed him. But apparently this is what started the sort of difference between Sancho and Ten Hag, and Sancho got upset that Ten Hag had sort of said this about the commission. And so, to be fair to Ten Hag, I think, well, what was Ten Hag meant to say? Was he meant to pretend you have an injury? Was he meant to lie? You're going to be absent for 4 months. He just had to say, look, Sancho's just not quite there mentally and physically. He's training to get back to his best. And it was a very good response to that by the fans, by the media. It was not like anyone was turning on Sancho for taking that time out. We were all very supportive and thought, okay, well, we want to see the Dortmund Sancho. Maybe he's going to have to take 4 months out to do that. So I don't know. I'm not Sancho, but I don't understand why he was so upset with Ten Hag reportedly after those comments, because it looked like that Sancho and Ten Hag had a very good relationship, because this is Sancho's first game back after 4 months. The way him and Ten Hag were smiling at each other, their relationship looked really good the back end of last season. So for me, was Sancho actually annoyed about that, or was that just recent news coming out? Because I always think that, like, well, they looked like in a good place. They looked happy when Sancho came back. It looked like he wasn't annoyed at Ten Hag for saying things, and they genuinely had a good relationship. But it seems to change. Now, I'm going to get into just sort of general comments that have been made. This isn't from The Athletic or Laurie Whitwell, but it was obviously sort of suggested, and previous reports have suggested, that Ten Hag had grown frustrated by Sancho's lack of effort in training, particularly after not being picked. Sancho seemed to lack intensity in training, which was also reported to be the same in England. And Ten Hag used Sancho as an example to the rest of the team about what happens when you don't train hard enough, which Sancho didn't like and felt that he was being scapegoated. There was other information that came out. I think it might have been The Guardian, but don't hold me on that, which basically said that what really happened before that Arsenal game was Sancho was frustrated that he hadn't been picked. And when Southgate wasn't picking Sancho, apparently in training, Sancho just couldn't be bothered because he wasn't being picked for the first team. And that might have relayed at United. Sancho had a good pre-season, and Anthony had been picked the first 3 games of the season, had been absolutely crap. And then Anthony was picked again, and Sancho's like, oh, screw training kind of mindset is sort of what's maybe being reported. And because Sancho wasn't pressing or working super hard in training, Ten Hag used him as an example to the rest of the squad, saying, look, Sancho's going to be dropped because you can't be putting these levels in training, it doesn't matter who you are, and then brought Gore and Mejbri into the squad. And Sancho didn't like this and felt that he was scapegoated. Laurie Whitwell then said things along the lines of Ten Hag showed Sancho videos of the final training session before that trip to Arsenal. So Sancho was questioning why he was dropped for the Arsenal trip, and Ten Hag showed him videos of the final training session, and he said, look at this practice match, you're meant to be shadowing, you know, your North London opponents, but this is not good enough. He was unhappy with Sancho's application in the session, particularly his pressing. Sancho thought that he was doing fine and was being picked on by Ten Hag, and then they thought that we'll have further talks to resolve this, you're going to be dropped for the Arsenal game, and they were going to pick it up after the Arsenal game. But what happened was Sancho then put out that post on social media, And obviously that didn't go down well. And obviously Man United wanted Sancho to delete the post and apologise to Ten Hag, but that apology would then be publicly communicated, which Sancho didn't like because he saw that as a way of maybe admitting that he was wrong. So Sancho deleted the post, but he didn't want to apologise to Ten Hag. And then we've sort of been in this situation where the relationship never mended. Now, if you don't remember what Sancho's statement was, it was obviously him saying, please don't believe everything you read. I will not allow people saying things that are completely untrue. I've conducted myself in training very well this week. I believe there are other reasons for this matter that I won't go into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair. All I want to do is play football with a smile on my face and contribute to the team. I respect all decisions that are made by the coaching staff. I play with fantastic players and grateful to do so, which I know every week is a challenge. I will continue to fight for this badge no matter what. Now, that was his statement. Feels like a massive lie. I will continue to fight for this badge no matter what, and all I want to do is play football because you refused to play football for 4 months, all over an apology. But that was the statement, and it was said that obviously United, at Man United, Sancho's response was viewed as basically accusing Ten Hag of lying after, you know, his permitted leave of absence as well. So basically, obviously it was the international break, so Sancho was allowed to leave, was allowed to go, was it to New York or something? He was allowed to go to, and then he was meant to come back and apologise to Ten Hag because he basically accused Ten Hag of lying, which Man United saw as a big thing. And that's sort of, I think, what caused a few problems as well. And obviously it wasn't resolved. So what happened after? We're going to get into Sancho's comments, but what's the context? What happened after? And I do apologise that the lighting is really bad in here as well. It's not the best, is it? Well, it was said that obviously United released its statement. Obviously, I think that was September 14th, saying that Sancho wouldn't be training with the first team. Sancho was then training with the academy. Now, Sancho's training with the academy was reportedly decent, but his attendance was reported to not be 100%. But Sancho claimed he was ill on all of those occasions. He missed quite a few sessions, but Sancho reported he was ill on those occasions. It's winter, a lot of illnesses have been going around, but Sancho and illnesses seems to be a very common thing at Manchester United. And actually reports came out to say that Sancho's salary actually got reduced because he was not part of the first team. And there was a clause in his salary that if you're not a member of the senior squad, he would get less money because I guess United would bring in less for commercial reasons. So that was sort of what's been happening since before the Dortmund move, is that he's been training, but he hadn't always been at training, but for the most part, Sancho had been training and he had been working well. So giving it to Sancho, although he wasn't playing for United, it seems that he was a good influence on the academy, had been training, had been working well, had been watching the academy games. It was said timekeeping, for example, has been a consistent issue for Sancho, as it was during his first 4-year spell at Dortmund, and that Manchester United staff tried to help this by setting Sancho's daily schedule to an hour earlier than the rest of the squad. This worked at first, but in the end, Sancho's attention and focus was not always there as well. There was a little bit of other information that came out of Laurie Whitwell's schedule, and I think the problem with Sancho is, and I think one of the reasons that things did not go well between him and Ten Hag, and maybe one of the reasons he might have been dropped on top of maybe that session before Arsenal where they thought the intensity lacked, was because there's been many times where Sancho at England, Dortmund and Manchester City have been reported to be late for training, or his timekeeping isn't particularly good. We've seen Rashford, we've seen Garnacho dropped by Ten Hag in the past for timekeeping. We know that Ten Hag could be quite strict. And obviously, Sancho had a problem with timekeeping, that apparently those at Manchester United worked really hard to set Sancho's schedule back an hour for everyone else's, which worked really well at first. And then I think maybe Sancho just lost focus and attention on that and potentially gave up as well. And there's a lot of question marks around why Ten Hag was so strict with Sancho, and people believe that Ten Hag was too strict, completely exiling from the first team, which I get to an extent. But sort of Laurie Whitwell suggested that, and in his report kind of wrote stuff along the lines of Ten Hag felt the need to be strict because of the squad that he'd inherited from Ollie and Rangnick. He felt that he needed to sort of whip them into shape, and we'd seen that Rashford got dropped last season, Garnacho in pre-season, Ronaldo obviously was in trouble a few times and had to apologise, and then Sancho last season, and then again Sancho this season, because Bruno Fernandezz came out and said on Ten Hag he demands from people, he has demands from people, you do it or you're out. He did it with Cristiano, he did it with Jadon, he did it with Marcus. So there is the suggestion that Sancho, potentially from Bruno, wasn't quite delivering enough last season, and that was maybe one of the reasons for his absence, as well as mental/physical issues. So there could have potentially been an issue there as well. But continuing on, Jadon Sancho has spoken out since joining Dortmund, and he first of all said, I'm back. He said, when I came into the dressing room today, it felt like coming home. I know the club inside out. I've always been very close with the fans here, and I've never lost contact with those in charge. I can't wait to see my teammates again, go out on pitch and play football with a smile on my face, prepare goals, score goals, and help qualify for the Champions League. And in conclusion to that, we don't know the full story. We don't know Sancho's side. We don't know why Sancho was refusing to apologise to Erik Ten Hag for 4 months. There's probably a lot more information out there we don't know, and there's probably reasons why Sancho's frustrated and acted the way he did. But I think the playing FIFA when Man United have big games on and not playing for Manchester United is absolutely unforgivable. So no matter what happens on Sancho's loan or if Ten Hag is sacked, I don't think we can bring Sancho back because he refused to play for this club for 4 months, even though we don't know the full story. I think that's unforgivable. I really want Sancho to do well at Dortmund. I really want him to smash it up at Dortmund, and then that way he'll become easier to sell in the summer. Hopefully we can get a bit of money back from Sancho. He does great at Dortmund. He finds his best form. But I think this has got to be one of the most, probably the most disappointing transfer for me. I didn't have that high expectations with Anthony, even though it's been crap. But with Sancho, I was so hyped. I was so excited for this transfer. And for it to end like this, I feel like, and him not wanting to play for the club, it's been very disappointing. But hopefully he smashes it. We can get a bit of money from him in the summer. Thank you for watching. Smash a like, smash the subscribe. Bye.